Right, mate. Jackie Scott. Pleasure to meet you last week, mate. I met you in the same place as where I met Mikey. Obviously, there's a big community of all you guys, like a big family on social media where you all share your stories and things like that. Mikey told me to drop you a message. Simple as that. He said, drop him a message. His story's really, really powerful, really inspiring.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this is what I'm doing, mate. I'm trying to get the message out there to as many people as I can that, the same as what everybody else is doing, is that this can't carry on and there's far too many people sitting in the darkness day in, day out, and we need to do something about it. So yeah, I appreciate you coming in, mate.
Yeah, no problem at all. And thanks very much for reaching out as well. It's something that I need to do on a regular basis, you know what I mean? Because if I can share my story and it helps one person, I'm doing something right, you know what I mean? And whatever else it may be, it's just incredible the way this program and this recovery works. It's incredible, like what it does to people and what it gives people back in their lives,
Hmm. I I put a video out there this morning. I think you liked it. I'm having a bit of an issue at the moment with social media. Is that everybody, of course, we all advocate for what we've been through and the people that helped us and the things that helped us learn. But you're getting a lot of people slandering other recoveries and things like that. There's people saying that, recovery coaches are all idiots. And then you've got people saying, oh, well, the 12-step program doesn't work. And then ABRT and all these other different programs. The fact of the matter is they've all helped hundreds of thousands of people beat recovery. So
Yeah.
whatever is, if it's close to your heart, then advocate for it. Do you know what I mean? But we've just got to make sure we're doing it the right way and keeping everything positive. And there's no room for negativity when it comes to this stuff because it's fucking dangerous.
Yeah, definitely not. No room for negativity. I try and cut negativity out of my life on a daily basis, like, because I don't need it, because if I get drawn into negativity, I start being negative myself, and I start
Yeah.
speaking out negativity to people and all this type of stuff. So I don't like it. I try to wake up in the morning with a good mindset. It doesn't happen every day, but I try my best every single day to, if I'm having a bad day, to try and switch that mindset to being positive, because, as I say, if I'm feeling negative, everyone else gets it around me, and it's not nice.
And you know what, mate, you bang on there what you just said because you don't, even though, we tell these stories and we speak to other people and we try and help people, when we're in recovery, a lot of the conversations in recovery are very positive and, it's going really well and I'm doing really well. And there's everybody's giving you the positivity that you need. But we don't really talk about the fucking dark days in recovery because I have them myself, I get it where there's some days where I don't even want to get out of bed. They're few and far between now, not as much as they were when I was in addiction and I'd spend 3 or 4 days in bed. But,
Mm,
it's tough, man. It's tough. And, like you were saying there, those bad days are far better than what they used to be. And as long as you can keep stepping it up slightly every now and then and just keep improving on those bad days, then, it's a blessing, right?
yeah, 100%. Look, I came out of a 26-year relationship, and my back was really, really against the wall, like,
Yeah,
it really was, like, because um it was because of my own actions, you know.
agreed.
I look, I hold my hands up and I fully admit my wrongs, and I did fall short, like, you know what I mean. But my life
Yeah,
was,
it's the same. Sorry, mate, go on.
go on.
Yeah, I was the same, mate. It was 16 years. I was 16-year marriage, which failed inevitably because of me and my addiction and my own actions and living a life of, being an absolute prick. But hey, that's all in the past. I'm happy and I've been with my missus now 2 years and it's the happiest I've ever been in my life. So it's blessings come in dark places a lot of the time. But we'll start. Whereabouts you from, mate? You're
I'm
Republic of Ireland.
Yeah, I'm originally from Belfast,
All right.
and yeah, but I'm living in Dublin 28 years now.
Right. What Football, rugby, what is it? What's your sport?
Football.
United?
Yes.
Yeah, I knew you. I'm a United fan as well.
Yeah. Big United fan, to be
Yeah, but
honest.
yeah, a lot of people from Ireland, or the majority of the people I meet from Ireland are always United fans. Probably because of Roy Keane and George Best, probably.
Yeah, it's true, 100%.
Yeah, yeah. We're struggling at the moment though, mate. It's awful. Obviously, me and you were a little bit older, so we
Yeah,
remember the decent times.
it's tough times, all right.
Yeah. So we'll take it back from the beginning, mate. Obviously, you said you grew up in Northern Ireland, right?
Yeah, grew up in Northern Ireland, and it was very challenging. Like as a child, like you know what I mean. It was a lot of poverty in Belfast growing up as a child. Like you know through the troubles and stuff. You know what I mean. And didn't really have a great upbringing now. You know what I mean. There was a lot of alcoholism in my family and stuff. You know, and it came from a very very violent background as well. Like you know, my father was very 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 violent. You know.
And that's so. When you say that, that I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm from a council estate. It wasn't a massively violent upbringing, but I had a lot of physical abuse towards me from my parents and things like that as well. Um, were you around sort of? I don't know a massive amount about sort of the issues that were going on in Northern Ireland. Only what you see and hear on the TV and things like that. But obviously, that surely that has a effect on your environment and the people that you're around, and your outlook or perception on life, I guess.
Yeah, well, that's it too. Like you know, as I say, it was very challenging growing up in Belfast. You know, we've seen stuff that I shouldn't have seen as well. Like you know what I mean, and with the rioting and all that, the obviously the British Army patrolling the streets of Belfast because there was that much sectarianism going on. Like you know what I mean, between two sides of the wall. Like you know what I mean, with going on with Catholics and Protestants, and it still goes on to this day. Like you know, but religion doesn't matter to me. You know, it doesn't matter what color you are, what religion you are to me. Everyone is equal to me. Like you know, I have no hatred in me in me blood. Like you know, that kind of way. So, as I
Is
said,
that is that something that you would have seen a lot of as a child? Then I guess
oh
all
yeah,
the
yeah,
the-
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Jesus, a lot of that happening up north. Like you know,
Mm. So obviously, that's going to have a massive, because like I was saying to you the other week, mate, childhood trauma has a massive effect on how we grow up and how that integrates. What the fuck is that? Can you hear that?
like hear what?
Just the music playing in my ears. Sorry, mate. Yeah, sorry about that. I'll delete that bit out.
No.
So yeah, obviously childhood trauma, a lot of them things that you would have seen would have, had a massive effect on you, I'd imagine. I can't even come to picture what sort of emotional state your body would have been in growing up.
It was I
And you,
was I was an emotional wreck growing up as a child. You
I can
know,
imagine.
I was diagnosed with PTSD as well. Like you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Because of all the stuff that has happened to me through violence at home and the stuff that I've seen on the streets and what happened to me when I was 15 as well. Like you know, so it had a massive, had a very very massive traumatic upbringing. Like I really really did. Like and to be quite honest with you, the stuff that happened to me when I was 15 years of age, I actually shouldn't even be sitting here today. Like you know, and where I am
really,
and how far I've come. Like
really, yeah.
yeah.
Is that again? You don't have to, mate. Is that something that you can speak about, or we can bypass that? That's not a problem.
Yeah, yes, it's something I can speak about. Yeah, of course it is because it's only since I've come into recovery that I've been able to speak about this type of stuff because I
Yeah,
had it locked away for so many years and running off
yeah,
emotions and feelings and es- and that escapism to alcohol or drugs or glue or
yeah.
petrol or whatever it may be, like it's just to take me away from what was really going on with me, like you know that kind of way. it gave me that sense of comfort, and that's why I took drugs, and that's why I became an addict, like, because I had so much trauma in my life. Like, you know, and when I was 15, I was taken out of me parents' home, and I was I was taken away before mass gunmen, you know, and I was tortured, I was interrogated, um, and I was basically tortured for 48 hours, like, you know, by mass gunmen, and the next 48 hours, me man and dad actually found me. I was in someone's back garden with gunshot wounds to my body, like.
Fuck. Fuck. How that's there's the you don't there's no way of even processing that as a young man, is there?
You couldn't process it. I couldn't process it because I was always, and on top of that as well, like, and on top of that, to be told after coming out of the hospital at 15 years of age, I had to leave the country. So I left. That's when I left the country, and I moved down south, and I've been down here ever since.
Is that again none of my business if you don't want it to be made, but is that obviously because of family matters and things like that you were
No,
taken away, or was it?
it was because no, it wasn't so much to do with the upbringing. It kind of probably was, like, because I didn't want to be at home because of all the violence and all the alcoholism that was going on at home. I just wanted to be out doing my own thing, like, you know what I mean. So I, at a very young age, I had to grow up fairly quickly, like, you know what I mean, because I had to be the man of
Yeah,
the house. You know, if I have
yeah.
a younger brother, I have a younger sister. You know, my mum passed away. She'd be 11 years this year, you know, and I miss her fucking terribly. Like, you know, I still grieve over her and stuff, and, you know, because she was a massive part of me life, you know what I mean? Because she was a mother and a father figure, you know, most of her life. Like,
Yeah. So when you say she was a mother and a father figure, was your dad sort of absent as a child or not really,
yeah, he
in
wasn't
that
really
sort of thing?
there, and me mum and dad split up. I came from a broken family, like, and, you know,
Yeah,
I promised myself when I grow up and had a family and stuff like that, I wouldn't come from a broken family. I wouldn't make a broken family myself, and I did, like. You know, as I say, I'm in a new relationship now, and things is amazing. You know what I mean? And my ex partner's in a new relationship now, and things we're starting to
yeah,
move. We're starting to move our own separate ways now, and everyone's happy. You know what I mean? And that's just the way I like it.
yeah,
Like, you know.
100%. I again, I've told my story 1,000 times, mate, but I had that abandonment attachment to my father as well. Him and my mum used to fucking fight like fuck when I was a kid, always fighting in front of me, weapons, or I got, there's a few times I got a golf club and things like that. And again, what I always say is, mate, the PTSD. I've never been diagnosed with it, but I've got a lot of friends who were in the military, and when I say to them, I think I've got it, they say, "Well, you've never been to war," and you say, "Well, it doesn't matter if you've been to war. It's your inability to cope with that traumatic experience that causes PTSD. And if you take all the the upbringing that me and you have both had, it sounds very similar, apart from obviously the Irish connection with the military and all the bad stuff that went on there. The fear of the abandonment, attachment to parents. Um, it's interesting, isn't it? How obviously when we grow up, we all tend to go to draw towards drugs and alcohol, to get rid of that emotional state, or to black their memories out. And were you a violent person then growing up?
Um. Yeah. Later on in years, I was I
Yeah,
was I was quite violent as well. Like, you know, because I ended up getting involved in criminality and stuff. You know what I mean? And I was bullied as a child as well, and I had to, and when I went out and lived on the streets, I had to build up this false imitation and false persona that to somebody that I wasn't, like, you know what I mean, to protect myself, because I didn't want to go back to the way of getting bullied and people walking all over me and stuff, you know what I mean. So I had to build up a fearful image, if you want to say, that kind of way. So people would be afraid, but deep down inside, that was this fucking. I'm a big teddy bear, like I wouldn't harm a fly, you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
mad, like what addiction does to you.
yeah. Again, mate, I can relate to that a lot. It's that I call it the mask or the avatar, where you'll create this mask and put it over your face to hide, the real person you are. Me and my girlfriend had a conversation about it the other day. It's like I spent 20 years being somebody that I didn't want to be,
Mhm.
living a life that I didn't want to live, acting a certain way. You know, similar to you, mate. I've lifted weights my whole life. I've done the steroid lark and all that. I've used steroids in the past, and I'm 6'6", and I built myself up to be this big unit of a guy, and thinking, oh, look how tough I look, and nobody will hurt me again, and all this because of my childhood, because of the fact that I was afraid and scared for a lot of my childhood. And again, I'm the same as you. I'm a big teddy bear. I'm soft,
Mhm.
quiet, and violence holds no purpose in my life. Neither does negativity, the same as you anymore, mate. So
Yeah.
it's funny, isn't it, mate? We we all act so very very similar, man. You know. So you getting into your 18, 19, is that when you're starting to become a man and, trying to find your way in the world? What was your journey like there? Where was your path? Where did it lead you?
Yeah, it was just my whole life is just complete. My whole life, like, come here. At a young age there now, I could, as well. Like, as I said, I'm a massive football fan. I play football as
Mm.
well, still to this day, and I could have made it as a professional footballer. You know what I mean? But yet again, I didn't have that father figure in my life to bring me to matches, to bring me to training, and leave me at the bus stop to get the bus, and not coming on a Saturday when you're looking around and you're starting and you're playing out of your skin, and your mother and your father are nowhere to be seen, and everyone else's parents are all there. So it was kind of disheartening for me. I fell in with the wrong crowd, and I had a brilliant talent, like, you know what I mean, and it just went to waste, like, and it
I
was it was horrible, like.
I was a goalkeeper. I was 25 years as a goalkeeper. I played for Leeds as a YTS. I'd done my apprenticeship with Leeds United, and then done the same. Found out what alcohol was. Found out what drugs were. Found out what women were, and then it all went down the fucking pan.
Yeah,
All
that's
of
what
it.
happens. Like, we obsess over so many different things. Like,
Yeah. Well, what position did you play?
I was a striker.
Oh yeah, always got to be the striker, isn't it?
Yeah,
Nobody wants
yeah.
to play. Oh,
But now I play football every Saturday. You know what I mean, and I'm more of a defender now. You know what I mean, because the old body hasn't got it. The brain has still the football advantage, but the body's it's just not able anymore.
yeah, the legs have gone now, have they?
Yeah, definitely.
How old are you, mate?
47.
But fucking hell, you're doing well. So you're playing vets football then, or?
I'm actually playing with every Saturday for the Irish Street Leagues. It's in Ireland now at the moment, and it's if you do get picked, I've been going every Saturday now. So if you do get picked, if you get picked for the squad, you represent Ireland in uh in the Homeless
Oh
World
wow,
Cup in Oslo this year. It's in Oslo, so hopefully um my dream comes true, and I'll end up representing my country and playing a Homeless World Cup for Ireland.
what? Wow, man, what an achievement that'd be to fucking hell, mate. I bet you. Are you close? Are you close to getting there?
Yeah, well, look, I'm not going to sit here and say I am, but I have to just keep putting in the work and keep showing up and keep being responsible. You know what I mean? And it's great to see. Like, it's incredible. Like, and we have a guy there who manages. He's just an incredible man. I swear to God, he's since I've met him, he's like a father figure to me. You know what I mean? I text him every single morning, and it's just great to see. Like, when the gates close and everyone is there, and it doesn't matter what color you are, it doesn't matter what background you came from. Everybody's just there to make each other laugh and to be just get you just get stuck in and just leave everything aside. It's amazing, like, you know what I mean. It really, really is. I look forward to a Saturday morning
Yeah.
every week. Like,
How long were you homeless for, mate?
I was homeless there for a little while there, you know, because it says I was in a 26-year relationship, you know, and I'm in a relationship now at the moment, and I was homeless for a few months, like.
How did you? Obviously, I know it's tough. That's not what I'm asking, but you know, how did you find it? You know, what? That's 'cause it's got to be tough. You know, I can't imagine. You know, it must be a lonely place out on the streets. I'd imagine.
Yeah, well, it wasn't so much in the streets. I was hip bouncing from here to there to here to there. You know what I mean? Didn't have no real steady accommodation, like, you know, like, anyway. So it was fairly tough from coming away from somewhere that I'd lived for so long, and my kids not there as well, and it was kind of difficult, like, you know, because my back was against the wall, like, you know, and people who I thought were my friends, and you know, just it was my back was against the wall, and it was really, really tough, like, you know what I mean. There was days that I was on my own, and to be quite honest with you, I did want to use, like, you know, but using is not the answer for me today. You know what I mean? Because I've learned so much in recovery that no matter what goes on in your life, you don't have to take drink or drugs. Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. And at the time, mate, when we were using it, we only know what we know, right? So at the time, the easiest and simplest solution for us is to fucking blow our brains out and block the world out. You know, not literally blow our brains out. I mean, by using and drinking and things like that. But
Yeah, yeah.
that, you know, that's what we do. So, well, I'm going to touch on your 12-step recovery in a minute. I want to know. I asked Mikey the same question, and everybody says you've got to hit rock bottom, right? Everybody says you've got to hit rock bottom. I hit rock bottom and carried on using multiple times. I tried to end my life, and I carried on using, which was more terrifying than the thinking about it now. That's more terrifying to me than the fact that I tried to end my life. Because if hitting rock bottom and trying to end your life is the lowest point in my life, why did I not learn from that episode in my life? You know, it's when I stopped using, mate, it was because history was about to repeat itself and my girlfriend was going to leave me.
Yeah.
So I stopped using. So, you know, what would you say was that key moment where you thought to yourself before your recovery was the point where you thought something's got to change here. I need to fix myself.
Yeah, well, for me, I was actually confronted in my sitting room by my ex partner, you know, and she confronted me and she says to me, like, I know you've have to be in. You said you were clean, but I wasn't clean. You know, I said I was clean for 3 weeks, but I actually wasn't. Like, you know, I was using behind her back and stuff. And she confronted me and she says, "Look, what's going on? Like, you're telling me a heap of lies." And I just broke down, and that's when I knew something had to change.
Yeah.
You know, and I reached out and I asked for help, and it was for the first time in my life that I made the decision, and that I asked for help. As a man, us men, we don't like to ask for help. You know what I mean? Because image and ego and all that type of stuff stands in our way from doing that. Like, you know what I mean? So I reached out and I asked for help, and I went to my first meeting, and I haven't looked back since. Like,
Again, it's that egotistical aspect, isn't it? With men, we think that asking for help is weak. Asking for help is something that you shouldn't have to do because of the way you were brought up, because you know the men that are around us when we were younger were physically strong, or the people that we grew up with were tough guys, and you know they'd never ask for help, so I'm not going to ask for help. And in the end, you go round in a vicious circle, and it fucking ruins your life. And the most powerful thing, as you know, is to ask for help, man. You know, that's the best thing that you could ever do. And you know, look at you and look at me. It's changed our lives.
yeah, that definitely. And as I say, I reached out for help, and I took it upon myself that time, and I reached out to a treatment center, you know, and I had to go down for an assessment and everything else, and I really wanted it. I really, really wanted it this time. You know what I mean? I did. I knew something had to change because I was my whole life, well, not my whole life, the biggest part of me addiction. Like, I was always trying to do it on self will. Like, I was trying to do it myself, and stopping here and stopping there and giving up the alcohol and going flat out in the drug of my choice and stuff, you know what I mean? So it was just, I knew something had to change, and it did change for the grace of God, you know what I mean? And I went to that treatment centre, and I was in there, I was supposed to stay there for 5 months, and I only lasted 3 weeks because, again, sitting down, no drugs in your system, and coming to reality of all these emotions and all these feelings which I was
Yeah.
starting to feel, and for years I didn't feel them because I was using drugs and all the trauma that has happened to me as well, and I was starting to just come around and starting to deal with it and all. I really couldn't deal with it, like, because I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to deal with it, like. So I just took it upon myself, and I says, "Here, do you know what? I'm going. I ran from the treatment centre, but to this day, I still haven't used drugs, like, you know, and I'll be away Sunday, Sunday the 27th of April. I'll be 1,000 days clean, like,
Okay. Congratulations.
you know.
Funny, isn't it? You know, the brain. So as we spoke about the other week, I'm certainly no professional, mate, but I like listening. All I do is listen about psychology, the brain, trauma. This all day, every day. This is all I listen to. Um, and the brain distorts, deletes, and files away our emotional state. So if an experience in our life is so traumatic, so brings up all these hyper emotional states of mind, it'll not only file it away, it'll lock it away as well. So you won't be able to understand why you act a certain way. And
Mm.
there's a lot of things, mate, that we actually forget. So there'll be, even though, you'll probably be able to remember a lot of the things that you went through as a child, but there'll be a hell of a lot that you can't remember. And they're probably, as far as your chemical imbalance in your body and brain is um, regarding, they'll be the most hyper traumatic experiences to the brain. Maybe not physically and things like that, but where the brain just goes, I can't fucking deal with this, and just locks it all away. You know.
Mm.
Um, and how did the 12 steps um, help you sort of realize, look, I've been through some seriously traumatic experiences here that I need to come to terms with, and I need to almost let go of, almost let go of these emotional attachments.
Yeah, like when I done the steps, like, writing stuff down was a massive challenge for me. Like, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know how to read or write as a child as well. Like, you know what I mean? Because I left school at an early age and stuff. You know what I mean? So it was a massive challenge for me, and I knew that I had to get stuck in here because me life depended on it. You know what I mean? As I said, I really wanted
Yeah,
it, and I knew that I had if I wanted recovery, I had to put the work in, and I did put the work in from the get go. You know what I mean? I done the steps, and I wrote an awful lot about myself, and like I was carrying an awful lot of stuff around that wasn't really belonging to me. Like, you know what I mean? I was carrying other people's stuff and me family stuff and whatever else was going on in me family and stuff. You know what I mean? So by writing the steps and working them and applying them to my life, I've learned to let go of a lot of that stuff. You know what I mean?
I got yeah, yeah, and that I think I mentioned it to you the other week, mate. That's called vicarious trauma. So the vicarious aspect is where you'll hold on to the emotions and the traumas or the emotional state of somebody else. So like you just said, you're carrying other people's burdens around, you're carrying their emotions around and whatever it may be. And that is it's heavy, man. I've been through it. When I started doing this podcast, um, I after 5 episodes I relapsed, I drank and I used because I was fucked. Like I was listening to these stories, what people were telling me, and there was some really, really difficult conversations
Mm.
and people that were close to me and people that I called friends, and that they're telling me that they tried to end their lives and stuff. And I remember coming home to my girlfriend and I was like, wow, this is difficult stuff, man. This is really, really difficult. And I relapsed. I started drinking again, started using again, and nearly ruined my fucking life again. Touch wood. I've I've learned now to really, when these podcasts and these conversations get too much for me, I step away.
Mm,
Like with the lives and stuff like that. There's a lot of conversation around recovery, but I know by talking about it, it brings up certain emotions
yeah, of
that
course.
yeah. So I just step away now. I just step away for a week and then carry on.
Yeah, like ours for instance, there, like even when I can remember back as far as when I was three. There, I remember I was in the buggy when when I was 3 years of age, and my mother and father were shot by the British Army in the height of the troubles. Like my father was shot in the neck, and my mum was shot in the stomach. Like, and I can still hear them screams like from them, and it's like, you know what I mean? It's crazy, like. So
But
again, it's to do with a lot of trauma. I've suffered a lot of trauma, like, and I've dealt with it, like, you know what I mean, by through step work, and I've had a psychotherapist, I've had a counselor, all that type of stuff, you know what I mean, and it's helped me massively, like.
psychotherapy, I think, is fantastic, and I think a lot of everybody, even if you feel like your world is sunshine and rainbows, I believe that speaking to people in that area of expertise is something that we should all be doing, just because it helps us analyze, our emotional state. It's something that I want to learn a lot more of. Hopefully, do some form of qualification in psychotherapy. That's what I want to get to.
Yeah, it's
But yeah, man,
powerful.
yeah, it sounds like you've been through fucking awful lot of trauma, even before the age of 10 years old. It sounds like, you- well, people can say they can imagine, or I know where you've been, mate, but I fucking don't. I can't imagine that. It's really, really difficult. And mate, it shows how powerful you are, right? It shows how strong you are as an individual to be sitting here today with the control that you have and being able to speak about it, because a lot of people can't.
Yeah, it is it for me. I remember when I came into recovery and I started speaking about this type of stuff, it felt like there was a massive weight lifted off my shoulder, like. It really was.
Mm.
It just felt like a breath of fresh air, like, you know what I mean. And I said to myself, Jesus, this is really good. This, because I'm talking about this, and I'm starting to trust people again, and because there's not many people I really really trust, to be quite honest. You know what I mean? And because I've been let down so many times in my life, really, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And loyalty is a massive thing for me as well. Like, it really really is. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm one of these people, like, Lee. I'm as real as you get, like, you know what I mean. I can see through people, you know what I mean. I don't co-sign people's bullshit either, like, you know what I mean. And I'll tell you how it is, and if you don't like it, fuck off, like. And that's
yeah,
just, and that's the reality of it. If you don't like it, fuck off. It's as simple as that.
yeah,
If you don't like what you have to hear, whatever it is, just see you later. Good luck, because sometimes people don't like the truth. Because sometimes I don't like the truth myself because it hurts.
yeah, yeah. It's Again, I'm going to relate back to me and my girlfriend. I've had some really difficult conversations about me over the last X amount of months, and a lot of it is stuff that I've had to work on. And she's very, 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 very good at having a conversation and bringing issues to the surface in a good way, if that makes sense. And holding that mirror up to ourselves is really, really difficult. But I guess what you're saying there, if you don't like it, fuck off. It's the best way to realize who are your people as well. Who are your people in your circle, because again, what I found by um, quitting drugs and alcohol and changing my life for the better is that 90% of the people who were in my life when I was in addiction aren't there no more. And it goes to show, people are there when you're down on your luck, when you're using, or people are using your house for parties 5 times a week and things like that. But when your life's normal, or you're improving your life, that these people don't exist, and they don't want to be around. So telling people to fuck off if you don't like it is probably the best advice you can give somebody.
100%. Most definitely, it is like, if me circle is very, very small at the moment, it really, really is, like, you know what I mean. I can count on one hand how many proper friends I have, like, and There's one guy in particular there at the moment, and I've met him on this journey. I've been following his content over the last. I was in recovery, and he was only getting recovery and stuff like that, and his name, he won't mind me mentioning his name because he's an incredible man, and where we're living now at the moment, he does a lot of stuff for the community. You know what I mean? He has a mental health group there called Rise Above It, who meet down in Portmarnock Beach on the coast there every Sunday, and they do a 5K, and there's music and there's food, and people suffer from their mental health, and people suffer from obviously are in recovery and stuff. You know what I mean? And he's become a very, 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 very close friend of mine. You know what I mean? And I can reach out to him and I can tell him stuff and he can tell me stuff, and there's no judgment and stuff, you know what I mean? And his name is Jason Bourne. He's just an incredible human being. What he does for people is just oh it's incredible. Like, he helps so many people. He puts up motivational videos, and he's after setting up a running club in his own area. He's after setting up rise up rise above the peaks and for hikes on every month, and it's incredible what he's doing, like, you know what I mean? So that's the kind of people I stick around, you know.
Yeah, it's people. I've come to the realization of late, mate, that we talk about our reality and how you can't change your reality. You really can't. By changing your environment, changing the people that are in your life, and by doing that, mate, you'll change your reality. Slowly changes into something a lot more positive. Did you say that the lad's name was Jason Bourne?
Jason Bourne, as in not born, no, Bourne. Jason Bourne.
I was thinking, yeah, just a fucking the film. But yeah, I mean, so let's go into your 12 steps, mate. Let's go. Let's. I want to hear your interpretation. If you can keep it within sort of like a 10-minute segment, if you can keep it within 10 minutes, and just talk me through what each step means to you and how you accommodate them into your life.
Yeah, well, Jesus, where do I start? As I say, it was just a learning process for me. Like, step one was um unmanageability and powerlessness over my addiction and stuff. Like, I'm finally admitting that I had a problem. You know what I mean? And it's it's just incredible. Like, what each step does for you. Like, you know what I mean? And how you get an understanding of how each step works, and how you apply them into your life every day. Like, it really does. Like, you know what I mean? You could sit here and talk all day about them and stuff, like, you know what I mean, but there's a lot of steps there that are very, very, very personal to myself, like, you know what I mean. And because
It must.
there's been a lot of stuff that has been written down. It was some dark stuff, like,
If you could give, if you could take five pieces away from the 12 steps that you could, give somebody advice, give the advice to somebody to put into their life, what would it be?
for one, if you do the steps, like, for one, you have to be open minded as well, like, you know
Yeah,
you have to be willing, you have to be honest. They're the most three powerfulest things that I've applied to my life: open-mindedness, willing, and honesty. And it says as well, like, with these three, you're well on your way. And that's true what they say. Like, if you apply them to your life, it's just incredible. Like, you know what I mean? Because honesty is a massive thing. It's a massive thing for me because before I came to recovery, I couldn't fucking. I was telling lies my whole life, like. I was telling
yeah,
that many lies that I could actually believe them myself, like.
yeah. Same, mate, yeah, same.
you know,
um, what does honesty mean to you, mate?
Honesty means just you have to catch me there. Honesty means just being honest with myself, like. Do you know what I mean? And once I'm honest with myself, I can be honest with other people, like. You know.
interesting. I asked that question to a lot of people because I was the same. I lied, I manipulated, I schemed because I always had an agenda to, you know, be this lying, manipulative, deceitful individual. And, honesty is something that's only been in my life for, I'd probably say 12 months. For me, honesty, it keeps your life simple. It gives direction to your life
Mm.
and gives that purposeness of, if you can be honest with the people around you, you're all on the same wavelength. You're all batting, in the same direction. Like me and my missus now, we both know where we are in life. We both understand our issues. We both know which direction we want to go in, and therefore it makes life simple,
Yeah.
you know. What was the other one? Open-mindedness, you said.
Open-mindedness, yeah, just to open your mind to anything that happens or arises or anything, like, you know what I mean? And the other one was willing, like, I'm willing to do anything, like, you know what I mean, to protect my recovery, like,
Yeah.
you know, and that was with and they were the main three that was always pointed out to me, you know what I mean? Once you're
Yeah.
honesty, open-mindedness, and willing. Once you have them three, like, you know, you're well on the way, like, you know, you have a better understanding and what way you want to go in life and stuff, you know what I mean? Because honesty, as I say, it's a massive thing, you know, because if you can't be honest with yourself, you're not going to be honest with anyone else, like.
I'm gonna ask you the question now, mate. Don't get offended by it. This is generally just for my own educational purposes. But do you believe that it's a disease?
I believe I suffer from something,
Hmm.
you know, it's an
Do you
illness.
believe?
It's
Yeah.
definitely an illness,
Hmm.
you know. It's more about being not a disease, but at ease. You're at ease all the time, you know what I mean? And whatever way you want to put it, like, you know what I mean? But it is definitely an illness, like, you know what I mean? Some people say they were born an addict. Some people say they weren't born an addict. But I believe I took drugs because I suffered an awful lot of trauma in my life. And that's why I took drugs to block out all the stuff that was going on in my life. And I became an addict because I was addicted to a certain substance for most of my life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and that's my own personal preference on it. But some people, when they hear this podcast, they're gonna say he's talking shit and he's what would he know? And you know, you have an awful lot of judgmental people out there. You know what I mean? That have their own different ways and different sayings and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's definitely an illness. You know what I mean? That I have, like, you know what I mean? If you want to call it a disease, the disease of addiction. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's a fair point because I was addicted to
Yeah.
something, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I get that. That's exactly why I asked you that question, mate. I think you've answered it very well. Um, like I said on Mikey's live last week, for me, addiction is a response to human suffering, like you've just said there. You
Mm,
you dealt with trauma. You dealt with trauma for a long, long time, and you couldn't deal with those emotional states of mind, so you blocked them out. I believe I hear the word disease thrown around a lot, and like I said, people can use that word if that's what they believe. I've got no problem with that, but for me, it's what I believe. I'm trying to understand what I believe. Do I believe it's a disease or do I believe it's something else? I believe it can have almost disease-like symptoms when, the physiological aspect of alcoholism and opioids, where the body actually needs it to
mm,
function properly. But, for a lot of us, it's all in the brain.
yeah.
A lot of us it's the imbalance in the brain. And science is proving that trauma causes damage to the brain, not specifically brain damage as such, but you'll have like neurological pathways in the brain that are damaged due to trauma. But they can be rebuilt. You're doing what you're doing here now. You're rebuilding those pathways and those roads in your brain to become a lot more healthier.
Mm,
So I guess it's how you interpret that word, isn't it? It's how you interpret the word disease. But yeah, I think you answered that really well.
Mm. Yeah. So as I say, that's it. Not it in a nutshell. But like me addiction went on for years, and my mother passed away. My addiction really got bad. Like what I mean. I walked all over my kids and all the stuff that comes with it. Like what I mean. We push everyone aside to get what we really want to get and stuff. Like what I mean. But since I've come into recovery, the 26th of July this year. As I say, by the grace of God, I'll be 3 years drug free and stuff like that. It's 3 years clean, so it's had its ups and downs in recovery. You know what I mean? It's every day is a challenge, like you know what I mean, because we have to fight this illness or disease, whatever you want to call it, on a regular basis, and on how we
Mm.
protect ourselves every day, and not to use drink or alcohol or drugs, like you know what I mean. So,
Are you a religious person?
um, no, but I do. I believe in God. You know,
Mm.
I've a God of my understanding. You know what I mean. I pray every morning. I pray before I go to
Oh,
sleep every night and stuff like that. You know what I mean. And it's just this, the fellowship I'm in at the moment. It's not a religious program, or it's a spiritual program. You know what I mean.
yeah, yeah,
And it's what works for me, and it's what continues to
of
work for
course.
me, Lee. You know what I mean, and
Yeah,
that's all that matters. I don't care what works for anyone else. It's what works for me and what's best for me going forward. Like in my recovery,
of course.
I meditate, I pray, and it's served its purpose.
How's meditation treating you?
Yeah, very, very good. I really enjoy it. Like at first, I really couldn't really get into it. No laughing and stuff, and all that type of stuff that comes with it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So, but
yeah,
once I get really into it, and I can actually sit. I sound at meditation and stuff, but I can actually sit there now with me phone on, set the alarm for 15 minutes, and I can sit in silence there for 15 minutes, no problem. Like it's incredible. Like what recovery has done for me. You know what I mean? I can actually sit with myself today instead of
mm,
running. Running my whole life. That's all I done. Like running from
yeah,
all my problems, but today I can sit and I can face my problems. Like a man does. Like and deal with what's going on in my life.
yeah, man. What methods do you use in meditation? What sort of methodologies do you use, breath work wise?
Um. Just normal, normal deep breath, just normal breathing. Nothing to do, especially in breath work or anything like
Yeah,
that. It's just guided meditation, like you know what I mean. With where it's someone talking or it's music, like you know what I mean. That's what works for me, like you know what I mean. But again,
yeah, yeah,
I pointed out on that Rise Above It group that I talked about, that mental health and recovery network we have there in Portmarnock Beach. There's a girl down there that breath work with Mandy, and she does all the guided meditation and the breath work and the breathing, and it's really good, like you know what I mean. And all this,
yeah,
whew, all this type of stuff. It's really it's kind of
yeah,
it's embarrassing at the start, you know what I mean, because you think everyone is looking at you and stuff like that, but
mm,
everyone is on the same page and everyone's doing the same thing, so it's fairly good. But I like sitting down in a quiet room, TV off, putting the music on YouTube, 15-minute meditation, and that's me. I'm happy enough with that. Like,
yeah. I've mentioned. You've probably seen the clips, maybe. I done some meditation and mindfulness work last year in a room full of. It was probably about 500 people in there, and there was a good friend of mine. He's an ex-UFC fighter, Tom Blackledge. Um, there was the cage rage heavyweight champion of the world was in there. There was all these businessmen, some really, if you were to look at them like men's men, and I broke down crying in front of all these people. There's about 400 people in there, and I was I was bawling like a child, mate, because I'd done this mindfulness and meditation work, and I had a whole wave of emotions, and I just like, what the fuck is this? It was like it was almost like psychedelic. It was almost, I don't know, it was weird, man. But it was powerful stuff.
mm,
So yeah, it was, yeah. Um, So what would you say if you were to give? Here's a question: what advice would you have given to yourself 10 years ago?
What would advice would I give to myself 10 years ago? I would have said to myself 10 years ago to be more clever, more smarter with myself, to be more aware, and again to be more honest. As to be more open minded as well, and do you know what I mean? Maybe if I had done counselling or therapy when I was in my teenage years or growing up as a child, and who knows, I probably wouldn't have turned to drugs. Like, you know what I mean? I could have been a professional footballer and stuff. You know what I mean? But unfortunately, that stuff didn't happen, and I can't change the way my life went. And you know what I mean? I don't dwell on the past. I try not to. I like talking about the past, but I try not to think about it too much. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you can sit in self pity and go, "Oh, poor me," and
Yeah,
and I don't
yeah,
I don't tell. And even when I'm in meetings and stuff like this, I don't tell this. I don't tell this story of what happened to me and all this type of stuff to look for validation and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
of
What
course.
happened?
Yeah,
What happened to me. You know what I mean? And I'm sure if when this goes live and someone else can hear it and listen to it, like, I'm hoping that someone else can say, "Fuck, I suffered all that type of stuff," like, and if he can do it, I'm sure I can do it, like.
yeah, and that's the thing. I think you know enough about yourself, Jackie, to know that you don't need validation from nobody about the things you've done in your life, and if people can help you and guide you, brilliant. But you know, to sit there and expect or want validation, I can tell by speaking to you, is something that you don't need or want.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Now, when I come into early recovery, like, you know what I mean, and I did, because I always liked how when people tell me, "Oh, you're doing great," and because it felt good, like, you know what I mean, because
Yeah,
I wasn't used to people telling me, "Oh, you're doing great," and all this type of stuff, you know what I mean, because in early recovery, I did look for validation because anybody I seen, I was going, "Oh yeah, I'm 3 months clean," and they'd be going, "Oh, well done," and you feel good with it, like, you know what I mean. But now today, I've learned all that stuff through step work and stuff. I don't need validation off anybody because today I know
yeah,
how well I'm doing myself. You know.
yeah, yeah. What was the when you finally completed your steps and finally went into your recovery, and what was the most difficult thing you had to deal with?
The most difficult thing I had to deal with was writing an inventory in step four. Like, that was really, really deep. Like, about sexual relationships and all that type of stuff. It was dark. Like, all that type of stuff was dark. Like, it really was, and that's when I had to really dig. I really had to dig deep and find out who I really was and what I had to let go of. Like,
Okay, so who is Jackie then? Who are you really deep down? If you were to describe yourself in, a short paragraph, who is Jackie?
Jackie is somebody who's passionate today. I'm kind. I'm gentle.
Mm.
I'm caring. And I'm loving. And I keep pointing it out. I'm honest today. You know.
Yeah. You mentioned about being spiritual. Again, something that I've mentioned before, sort of history and religion and something like that I've always seemed to, I've been drawn to my whole life. I love ancient war. I love ancient history. I love religion was one of my best topics in school. I don't know why. I enjoyed it, but I wouldn't say I'm a religious person. I do believe um, that I'm a spiritual person in one way, shape, or form. I could talk to you about. I don't know if have you ever heard of something called DMT?
Yeah, I've heard of I've heard of there's a guy over here in Ireland now that is doing this combo.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
So I've
I go
go on,
ahead.
mate.
Go on, mate. You go ahead.
Yeah, so I've done DMT. I haven't done Cambo yet, but it's Cambo's more of like a purification of the body to get all the toxic poisons and negativity out of your body. But I've done DMT, and I plan on I plan on doing either going to South America this summer, or I live in Snowdonia or near Snowdonia in North Wales. So there's a couple of retreats that are held in Snowdonia. So I plan on doing something like that because when I did it, mate, about 2 years ago, it was insane. It was one of the most craziest experiences I've ever been involved with in my life, and I was in some, I was in heaven, man. I was in heaven, and I seen my grandparents who brought me up. I was pretty much raised by my grandparents. They brought me up, and I was in this place with mountains and waterfalls, and oh man, it gives me goosebumps talking about it. And I was looking over this meadow, and I could see all my family. Oh, it was crazy, man. And I come out of it, mate, and I was breaking my heart like a baby, crying my eyes out. And my mate was going, "See, I fucking told you, it's real." He was saying, "It's real." I was like, "Fucking hell, man."
And does it really
Oh,
go that deep, like?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And you actually see, as you said, you actually see you seen your grandparents and you can see all your family, and is it? Because I've heard stuff about it, like, you know what I mean. It's just mental.
Well, some people say it's a projection of your own consciousness. So some people say you only see what you want to see. But mate, so I could take you through the whole story, but I'd be here for 20 minutes talking about it. But
Mm.
they reckon there's a few levels to it. So obviously, first you get like the mushroom effect when all the walls and the colours and stuff start changing and all this stuff. And then I shut my eyes, and there was a wolf sat in front of me, a white wolf, and the wolf run towards there was like a sunrise, and the wolf started running towards this sunrise, and then over the sunrise came a blue woman. Now, a lot of people talk about this blue woman, so a lot of people see her, and it looks like Mother Mary, Jesus' mum, spitting it. All the pictures you see in anything gospel or religious, it looks like her. And then in the next part, I was walking around this castle with a load of Viking soldiers, Roman soldiers and Viking soldiers, because I believe that I'm 6'6", and I just, in my own weird mind, I think that I was a Viking in a past life or something like that. And and yeah, and then the third stage, I flew up this. There was a tornado in an ocean, and I flew into the tornado, went up through the tornado, and then I was on this meadow, and there was all these, oh man, it was crazy, all these shadows and people, and all sat there, and I was like, wow, this is my grandparents, these are all my family, and it was just crazy, honestly. I can't even. It's very, very difficult to describe, but
And was it? Do you regret doing it, or
oh, definitely not, mate. I'm going to do it again.
right?
Definitely, it's something. Some people do it quite a lot, but for me, it doesn't. It didn't serve any purpose for quite a long time because I believe you've got to be in the correct state of mind to do it.
Right. Okay.
Be, because my friend who did it with me, he did it, and a lot of people when they do DMT, they talk about the Joker. So, have you ever seen it on a pack of cards where you've got like the little Joker on the pack of
Yes.
cards?
Yes. Yes.
He was locked inside a room with mirrors all around the room, and there was a Joker in the mirror going, "No, no, 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 no," as if to say, like, "You're not ready for this. You're being too cocky. You're being too arrogant. Get your shit together and come back, and we'll let you in." That's how he interpreted it. So yeah, I mean, for hey, I'm not going to tell you to do it, mate, but it sounds like you know people who are educated in it. For me, it was a fucking powerful experience, man.
Brilliant, 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 brilliant.
So, what does the next 12 months hold for you, mate?
Um, I actually can't even answer that because like I just live for the day. I just live for 24 hours.
Nice, nice, mate.
I don't look into the future. I just, as I say, I just take it a day at a time because at the end of the day, we only have 24 hours in our life because, you know, I could go to bed tonight, touch wood. I never wake up tomorrow, you know what I mean? It's just, and if I wake up in the morning, I count my blessings, you know what I mean? And I just carry on through my day and if I get another 24 hours and then another 24 hours and before you know it, the years are gone by. So look, of a lot of stuff happening over the next over the next 12 months with holidays and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Again, hopefully now I get picked for the homeless World Cup and stuff like that. But look, it's just one of them things, you know what I mean? I just have to keep turning up and keep doing what I have to do, you know what I mean?
You know what, mate? That's probably the best answer I've been given. That just live for today, live for the present time, and be present is the best answer. And I totally fucking agree with you, mate. Really do.
Yeah.
Um, well, listen, mate. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and we can do more of these. Like I said to Mikey, you know, it's this is something that isn't a one-off thing. I'm building a community here, or we're building a community where I'd like to think I'm calling you people friends, or I want to call you people friends in the future.
Yeah.
Um, so, you know, I really do appreciate you coming on here and giving me this insight into your life. And the beauty about this journey is the growth, isn't it? We could come on here in another 3 months' time, me and you, speak about you could be doing something completely different. It's beautiful. It's beautiful what we're doing, mate, and I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, it's as I say, it's just when I come on and do stuff like this, it's whether I'm sharing on TikTok or not, like I speak from the heart, like you know what I mean. It comes,
Mm.
I just open up and just be as honest as I can, you know what I mean, and that's just what it's all about for me. There's no cutting corners and no back doors. I say it how it is, like you know what I mean. And again, if people don't like it, so be it, like you know what I mean. And that's just honest. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be on your podcast. It really, really is, and I'm really looking forward to see the end product and to see it out there and for everyone to see, and you know what I mean. Because I actually did do one. I was only early recovery, you know what I mean. And it's on YouTube at the moment, and I was only learning, and it was quite frightening, like you know what I mean. It was scary, like you know what I mean, because for the first time I was opening up to all these people who could see what was going on and stuff, you know what I mean, and now how times have changed, you know, it's incredible to be on a podcast as big as yours and to be on here speaking with you with a man full of knowledge and you know it's incredible what you do as well. It doesn't go unnoticed, you know what I mean, and just keep up the good work, mate, and just keep doing you.
I appreciate that, mate. I do. It's doing what I'm doing here. I do everything on my own, so I do all the editing, the buying all the equipment, setting it because I do face-to-face podcasts as well. Obviously, you said you're in Dublin, right?
Yeah,
So in the summertime, me and my missus are actually going to be. I've bought myself a camper van, so we're gonna go over to Ireland. We could probably meet up because I'm going to bring all my equipment wherever I travel. We could probably meet up and do a face-to-face one, and
brilliant. I would
just
actually
get.
love that. I would love that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, but yeah, I appreciate what you just said there, mate. Those the kind words. It's tough, it's it can be, as you already know, it can be emotionally draining all this stuff, and it takes a long time to get a good control on what we're doing and being able to speak about it and help other people. It's really, really difficult. Especially, I appreciate what you said there about the knowledge that I've got, but I'm educating myself, but I'm not educated to the standards of any form of professional.
Yeah.
And it's tough. It's tough for us all. It really is. I've got two more questions for you, mate. first question is, you sat next to somebody at a bus stop now who is in active addiction, is in the darkest place of their life. How do you approach that person?
Um, Me, from my own experience,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
look, me personally, if we've seen somebody in a dark place or whatever, a bus stop or a homeless person or whatever, well, first of all, I'd ask them, are they okay? I know what the answer's going to be. They're not going to be okay, you know what I mean? Um, I would ask them, do they need anything? Do they need food, cup of coffee, or whatever it may be? And because I've tried it before, Lee, I've asked people, do they want to come to meetings and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But if
right.
people are not willing to help themselves, how
Yeah,
can someone else help a person that doesn't want to help themselves?
right.
You know what I mean? That's the most difficult part of it, and that's the sad reality of addiction and
Yeah.
homelessness. You know what I mean?
If they were seeking help, would your initial response to be to take them to the 12 steps?
Yeah, just come to a meeting and
Yeah,
see what you think, and get somebody to guide you like I was.
yeah, yeah. Do you know what, mate? I've asked that question to a few other people because one of my one part of what I want to do, I want to speak to, you know, people living on the streets and people who are struggling with addiction on the streets and things like that. But it's an extremely difficult way to approach, people who are homeless. And because on one hand, I certainly don't want to come across as though, you know, oh, look at me, you're homeless. I want to interview you simply because of that, because that's not the case. And I got my best piece of advice because I said to a friend of mine, how do I go about approaching, people without them seeing me as, you know, somebody who's just coming there to try and get clickbait or whatever. And he said what you said. He said, see them as a human being,
Mm,
see them as a human being and not somebody, not just some homeless person. They're human beings.
yeah,
And that was the
that's
best
that,
answer I
that's
could have
the
got.
that's the only thing you can do, because at the end of the day, like who are we to judge anybody? Like,
Of course.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? It's just, as I say, they're just a normal guy like us, caught up
Yeah.
in what went on in their lives and addiction, and unfortunately, some people just can't get out of it. Like, and unfortunately,
Mm.
people die from this.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is the biggest problem I've got with the word. There's only one way up from rock bottom. There's only one way from rock bottom, and that is up. And it's not, because like you just said there, sometimes people hit rock bottom and they get buried. We bury them.
Yeah, and the best bit of advice someone ever said to me when I came around here first, he says, "Make sure you buy yourself a suit, because you're gonna go to an awful lot of funerals, because a lot of people die where they get clean and they go back and relapse and they don't make it back." It's so true, like, you know.
Sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very sad. Like, it's a sad state of affairs. You know what I mean? And it's just happening everywhere. Like, you know what I mean? We think we're bad in the UK or over here in Ireland. You go to the likes of Philadelphia or in America, and they see the epidemic of spice and whatever else it may be
Yeah.
over there, and people walking around like fucking, like something out of the Walking Dead. Like, it's crazy. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just addiction, and this illness or this disease, whatever, it's everywhere. You don't have to be an addict to be addicted to drugs or alcohol. You can be addicted to
Mm.
sex, you can be addicted to food, you can be addicted to the gym, you can be addicted to shopping.
Yeah.
People are out there
Yeah.
are addicted who don't drink or take drugs, are addicted to shopping. But they
Mm.
don't class themselves as addicts, you know what I mean? It's madness the way this works, like.
Well, one of my favorite psychologists that I listen to, Gabor Mate, he's probably one of the leading psychologists or trauma specialists in the world.
Mm.
when it comes to addiction and recovery, and he's all over YouTube. You can listen to him if you want to.
He's brilliant.
He was addicted. Yeah. Oh, so you know who he is. He was addicted to shopping. He had a shopping addiction.
Madness.
He said I listened to a story of his when he said he was in work, he was counselling or doing, I can't remember what he said, but he had this sort of anxiety come over him, and he just got up, went out of work, went to a shop and spent like $20,000 on music, on CDs and things. Like, that's fucking crazy, crazy.
Madness.
Um, I've got one more question for you, pal, and then I'll let you go. It is, if you could sit round a dinner table with four people from history. They can be family, friends, or an idol. It could be literally anybody you want from history, um, dead or alive. Who would they be?
Wow. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. You know, four people.
Yeah,
You know, this will probably sound weird, like, you know what I mean. I'd like number one, I'd like me mother to be at that table,
yeah,
me mum.
yeah,
You know, another one, I'd like me father to be at that table because he's caught up in addiction now at the moment himself, and I haven't spoke to him in years. You know, and the other two people would probably be Sir Alex Ferguson and Eric Cantona.
yes. Nothing weird about them answers, mate. Nothing weird at
Definitely
all.
not. Definitely not.
No,
Uh,
no. The king
yes.
is just. Before you go, mate, you know, you just mentioned there that your father's in active addiction. Is that something that you'd want to build bridges with? 'Cause this is something that I'm dealing with myself at the moment.
Yes, it's something I would like to, you know, because I've had a relationship with my dad that I've been in his life and I've been out of his life, and but now I'm out of his life for so many years now. You know what I mean? It's the same with my brother as well. Like, I don't talk to my sister, and I don't talk to most of my family. You know what I mean? Because, like, you know, when I come into recovery first, they didn't like to see the change that was happening. You know, they
Mm.
wanted to see the old Jackie of what he was
Yeah.
doing, and what he was doing for them, and running here and running there and sorting all their problems out. You know what I mean? But deep down, I wasn't looking after myself. You know what I mean? So when the change started to happen, family members started to drop off. You know, but today I'm actually okay with it. Today, you know, I was just saying to my partner the other day, I don't really have anyone. The only people I have in my life now is my partner and my kids, and as I say, me close friends. You know, and that's all I need, because sometimes family can be very, 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 very fucking difficult.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Very,
You're not wrong.
very difficult. Very difficult.
My family's all broke into about 7 or 8 different pieces. These don't speak to them. They don't speak to these. These
Yeah.
don't speak to these people. It's like, fucking hell. This is tough. Um, but yeah. Hey, listen, mate. I appreciate you coming on. I really do. And keep telling your story. Keep helping people, doing what you're doing, and keep living fucking life, man. And hopefully we get to see you on the TV or something, you know, in the World Cup representing your country.
Yeah, please God, please God. All I can do is pray for that. You know what I mean? And if it does happen,
Yeah.
it'll be fucking. It'll be an honor. It'll be really an honor and some achievement. Like, you know what I mean? From a kid who loved football and could have made it as a professional footballer, to go on and maybe represent this country. You know what I mean? But look, I'm not getting my hopes built up. As I say, I just have to keep turning up and keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully one day, if it doesn't happen this time, who knows when it'll happen. You know, I just keep doing it.
Believe it, man. Believe it. Believe it's going to happen. Make it happen.
Mm,
Believe it. Believe
mm.
it in your head. You know, that's why I'm the same with this podcast. I want to do this podcast full time. I'd love nothing more than to be, you know, in 10 years' time, one of the biggest podcasters on the planet when it comes to this sort of
Yeah,
area.
Mm.
But there's only one way that's going to happen, and that's if I believe it. If I believe it's going
True,
to happen.
true.
So, brother, I wish you nothing but the best, mate.
I wish you
I'm
nothing
going
but
to
the
let you
best as
go.
well. And I really appreciate your time and your effort you're after putting into me. There are nearly 75 minutes. I haven't talked for fucking 75 seconds in my life, never mind 75 minutes. Fuck's
Yeah,
Jesus.
yeah. Nice one, mate.